Welcome back to Friends and Family Survival. Today we're going to be going over one of my favorite knives, the Becker Companion BK2 by K-Bar. So sit tight, we're going to go over some of the specs with you and we'll give you our opinions of this knife.
So the first thing we wanted to talk about with this knife is that it's a very high quality steel made here in the USA. It's made in New York. It is 1095 Crowvan steel. The 1095 marks it as a very high carbon, very hard steel. It stays very sharp. The Crowvan just means it's not going to chip as much and it's not going to scratch hardly ever.
Okay, so talking about this blade, on the Rockwell scale, the top half of this blade is a 56 and the bottom half is a 58. So the 56, it's being a little bit softer, not as brittle, so it's very nice if you're going to be hitting and doing some batoning with it, while the 58 keeps that edge really hard and the retention very sharp. This is a drop point blade with a flat grind. So you can see it's a little bit thicker. The thickness of this blade is a 1/4 inch thick, so it's a very thick knife. This is a very thick, heavy knife. The weight of this knife, I believe with the sheath, is 1 pound. So you need to keep that in mind when you're taking this out bushcrafting, camping, survival, anything. It's a little bit heavier than other knives, but it's also a lot stronger and a lot more durable. So the handle on this that was designed by Ethan Becker is probably one of my favorite handles on any of the knives that I own. It fits very well in the hand. Even when I'm wearing gloves, these gloves aren't very thick. It's just a very solid feel. As you can see, that palm swell is very nice. It fits very ergonomically to the handle. This handle, although it does just look like plastic, it's called Zytel. And what it is, it's a plastic mixed with fiberglass. So it's a very strong, very grippy handle. Might just seem like plastic, but it's not. And it is held in there with 3 hex screws. So if for some reason your handle breaks, which I don't know why it would, you can just put a new one on. There's also different accessories you can put on this as well, like wood handles or micarta. Overall, this knife feels very fantastic in the hands. So let's kind of go over some of the finer details. It is known as the jack of all trades. It can do everything very well. It doesn't really have a specific job. So let's go over some of those things you'd use the BK2 with. Before we start, let's go over the sheath as well. The sheath is a Kydex press sheath. It fits the knife very, very well. I have read on forums and seen videos where using this for an extremely long time, it does dull the blade a little bit because it fits so snug. It's hitting that plastic. But for right now, just little touch-ups, I'm okay with that. It did come with a little nylon sheath with a little button snap over the top. But I noticed when I wore it on my belt that when I unbuttoned it, the whole knife, because it's so heavy, would flop forward because that nylon sheath was very flimsy.
So we just wanted to go over the general sharpness of this knife. You can see we've actually used it quite a bit. You can see the wear on there. I'm just going to go ahead and get some shavings on here. I am really using little to no effort. The grind on this mixed with its weight is really doing most of the work for me, to be completely honest with you. Even though it's a bigger knife, I'm getting some pretty nice curly thin shavings out of this. Go ahead and see how deep it's going to bite there. Again, I'm still using little to no effort at all. Getting through this wood. It's really taking a heavy chunk.
Alright, so the next task we're going to go over is batoning. As you can see, we just have a section of a log here, which shouldn't be any problem for this. I think that the width of this blade is going to make batoning a very easy task. So let's go ahead. And this wood, I want you to know too, has quite a few knots in it. See one right there? So let's see what it does. See, the width of the blade just kicks that piece of wood out. And because it's that 1095 Crovan, I'm very comfortable with using this to be able to pry. As you can see, the width of the knife is splitting that wood open really nice, which makes batoning super easy. Because of the weight of this knife being a pound, Ethan Becker also designed it so you can use this kind of like you would a machete. So you can just hold on low down there. That way if you have small trees or if you need to cut through wood, it is something you can do. So let's kind of see how well it does. I'll do 10 hits. As you can see, it took out about an inch chunk out of this wood. It's very clean cuts too. So again, very nice. Okay, so now we're going to take the BK2. After all the batoning and everything, we're going to see if we can still do some feather sticks on this. So sit tight. Okay, so as you can see, even though it's a thicker knife, it does a pretty good job at feather sticking. Now I do prefer Scandinavian grinds on my knives. This is a flat grind, so the blade just goes all the way down. But it did a really good job. I'm really impressed. Okay, so now we're going to give you our opinions of this knife and who this knife is for.
So my first initial opinion of this knife, when Jeff pulled it out and handed it to me, was, wow, that's a big knife. That was my first thought, and it really has shown true, as you've seen. This is a big knife. It's also a very rugged and sturdy knife. I've really liked the way it's performed. With it being a big knife, I feel like it performs like a small knife. You were able to see that it feathered really well, which I was fairly impressed with.
Most of my favorite things with knives come with the handles. Because if you're going to be using any knife for an extended period of time, having a knife that's comfortable in your hands that doesn't hurt after half an hour is really important to me. So this really comfortable Zytel handle that they put on here, plus the ergonomics that it has, I mean, it just fits your hands perfectly. Also, when I was doing the chopping with it, that really nice little swell at the bottom, it was so comfortable that every time I hit, I wasn't even feeling this plastic handle was taking all of the blow. I couldn't even feel hitting the wood. It's a little heavy, but I think what this knife can do kind of outweighs the weight that it has. I really enjoyed the fact that it was a thicker knife. That 1/4 inch, I mean, that is pretty thick, but it makes certain tasks super easy. Like when we were batoning, I mean, it was just flinging the wood apart.
It's like a hatchet.
Yeah, it was almost like having a hatchet. So, again, that's why they call this the jack of all trades, because it can do a little bit of everything and it can do it very well. Who is this knife for? I would say if you're into bushcraft or if you want just an all-around amazing survival knife, I would pick up this Becker Companion BK2. Now the MSRP on this is about $130. You can find them on eBay or Amazon for about $77 to $80, and that's brand new. Mine was brand new. I got off eBay for about $75.
Thank you for watching our video on the Becker Companion BK2. As you saw, it's a very great knife. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Please like and subscribe. You'll also find us on Facebook at Friends and Family Survival, also on Twitter at FnF Survival. Thank you again for watching. You have a great day.